What a pick that was. What a pick. But we're talking about the head coach of the New York Jets, Robert Saleh. Why is he so dumb? Why? What evidence do I have? I'll be back in a second to tell you. All right. So I know a lot of people screaming, he stinks and he's dumb, but we're not even going to talk about what makes Robert Saleh a bad coach. We're not going to talk about what he needs to improve. Hello, my darling niece, Leah Cravat. We are going to talk about why evidence that I could prove that he is not a bright human being, at least when it comes to football. His football intelligence is incredibly low, or he's a liar. Okay? So, based on his press conference this morning, okay, and I'm going to acknowledge they lie. So he might be lying through his teeth. And that's okay. But if he wasn't lying, if we're expected to believe what he said this morning, he knows nothing about football and he needs to go. And here's my point. Forget about the whole Zach Wilson thing. Did he say he wants to play? Did he say he doesn't want to play? You know what? I gave my theory on that. Maybe when he first found out, he was still hurt. He's upset. How do you start this unserviceable, unrosterable piece of crap, Tim Boyle? And then Siemian was even worse. Okay? He was worse than the cinnamon I put on my toast. Okay, so that was more garbage. So maybe Zach in the beginning said to some other people in the locker room, screw them, why should I even play? Because that's the locker room, probably what it looks like right now in that mess, right? But at the end of the day, he was bean shooting, okay? He was talking out of his ass. Because the truth was, there was no way he wasn't going to play. There was no way if Robert Saleh didn't come up to him and say, we need you to play, he was going to say, no, I'm not playing. What a joke. Of course he's playing if they offer him to play. So anyway, none of that even matters, though, to my point. None of it. Here's what matters. They asked Robert Saleh straight up. And the reporter did it so he couldn't deny a mistake. He literally clarified. He goes, are there any other factors of why you don't know Zach Wilson would be the starter, aside from giving you the best chance to win? Are there any other factors? This was Robert Saleh's chance to say, yes, there are some other factors. The second he said no, the second he said we use the quarterback that gives us the best chance to win, and then follows that up by saying, I'm not there yet. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You have to take the dumbest, most clueless New York Jets fans on the planet to find anybody that could sit there and say that they don't know. And this is not an endorsement of Zach Wilson being a good quarterback. But if you watch that game, anybody you don't even have to have watched a football game, okay, to know that Trevor Siemian was absolute trash. I mean, he threw one completed pass to start off and got us excited. And then it was like someone holds up a piece of candy and you think, oh, this guy would love this person. They're giving me a piece of candy. And then they pull it away from you. I've never seen a quarterback, not even Zach Wilson, throw a football to somebody who's 15 yards away, physically 15 yards away, and throw it 15 yards too high and away from the player. And I saw Trevor Siemian do that multiple times. He is absolutely the most inaccurate, worst quarterback I've ever seen. So, for Robert Saleh to say I'm not there yet. I don't know if he gives us the best chance to win. Unless Aaron Rodgers is miraculously coming back. Robert Saleh is either a liar or the dumbest human being imaginable, because he's a football head coach, and we're supposed to trust somebody who can't tell you or can't tell himself, is unable to deduct that Zach Wilson is a better quarterback than Trevor Siemian? You have got to be kidding me. That is absolutely ridiculous. Really happy that I'm going to be releasing videos with somebody. I'm not going to name them, someone who shall not be named. And we're going to go over some of these mistakes and talk about the fact that it's not really that difficult to see these things that we're seeing. We're not like fans. Like when people say, oh, you're a fan, why aren't you there? Why aren't you running the team if you know so much? Look, it's not like we haven't been right about everything. We knew Ozoma stunk. We knew that Jeremy Ruckert should be getting more snaps, and it happened. It just took him longer than it took us to see. It took him longer to see that Lazard was a suicide bomber in our team, in our locker room, on the field. It has taken Salah longer to see everything. So I don't know which is better. Is it better if he's just lying to us and but he had the out with the reporter not to lie. He could have said, I'm not going to talk about the factors, but there are factors that might help me or cause me to make a different quarterback decision based on more than just who gives us the chance to win. But when we have to sit there as a fan base and realize that our head coach, after what we saw last week, does not recognize that as many issues as he has, as inconsistent as he is, even with his inability to throw a ball to a moving target, Zach Wilson is still better than Trevor Siemian or Brett Rippin, who they caught up. I got excited. I thought it was Mark Rippin, like in my brain for some reason. Like I forgot time or anything. I just thought to myself, oh, that guy's pretty good. Like, oh, that guy, he could run an offense, that guy. And then I realized that it's his son or his younger brother or his nephew or just someone who coincidentally has the same name. And I looked at his numbers, and it's Boyle all over again. This is ridiculous. Now, look, he could have said there's other factors. I would have had more respect for him. He's not allowed to do this, but I would have had more respect if he would have came out and said, well, if we play Zach Wilson, we might win. And then we can't get Marvin Harrison Jr. That would have been suicide. We would have been fired. The team would have been under investigation because you're not allowed to. I don't think you're allowed to tank, technically. But I would have had more respect for him. Because my worst fear is that he's not lying. My worst fear is that he honestly, somehow, in that brain of his, somehow believes that the Jets have a better chance of beating Houston with Trevor Siemian as their quarterback over Zach Wilson. And look, again, if you're just tuning in, I am not a Zach truther. I am not sitting here screaming, Zach Wilson is good. I'm not. But he is the best quarterback we have healthy on our roster. And there's no argument that anybody could make to dispute that if you just watch. Because Zach Wilson is just a better football player. He's a better football player. Like, he could run with the ball if they let him. He could scramble. He could still make plays. We saw him do it. He's still capable of winning a football game. He came in and beat Buffalo. He beat Philadelphia, not him. I understand it was the defense and the players around him. But we were able to win with him in the game. We're not going to win with Trevor Siemian. Houston is good this year. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl team, but they're much improved. They got some good players. They're not a joke. They have a young quarterback who's going to score some points. Our defense is stellar. But like you saw against Atlanta, You can't put a defense on the field constantly, 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 out, and constantly put the defense on the field and expect them to be stellar every drive. They're going to crack. And we watched our defense crack. I mean, Atlanta had the help of a bunch of penalties. Some of them were atrocious. But that's going to happen to us every week because we're the Jets. And the league has an agenda. And we have to assume that the agenda is against us every week. That's how we have to live. So we can't let a game be close. We can't let a game be in danger of being determined by the ref. The only way we could possibly win, if that's even what we want, is Zach Wilson has to start. That's what it has to be. Does that mean we're going to win? No. Does that mean it's going to be fun to watch Zach Wilson? No. Our offense might be really hard to watch, like it was against the Raiders, like it was against the Chargers. It might be really hard to watch, really painful, like the way it was against the Giants. It probably will be that painful to watch. But the guy, as bad as he's been, is just better than Trevor. He's just better. Because when he misses a pass, it's by 6 yards, not 20. And sometimes he actually when he's vertical with a player and throws the ball at them, sometimes he does a good job and gets it to them. The offensive line is getting healthier. It looked a little bit better. They're not in sync for the run game. We do not have a good offensive line when it comes to the run game. Physically, they're getting healthier and they have better players, and that shows that they're blocking a little bit better. Part of it could have been that Atlanta doesn't have the best defensive line, and the fact that we gave up any sacks at all is kind of embarrassing. But that wasn't the issue. And we are getting healthier. They're getting healthier, right? Becton now is back. He's completely back now. Laken Tomlinson is there. He's right there. And Joe Tippmann is a center, and he's very good. And now I don't want to talk about right guard, but next to him is Carter Warren, who's been serviceable. You got Dwayne Brown, who came in for a play, but he's there if Becton needs to move over. If Carter Warren was not serviceable, there's more things to play with. Personally, I think that they made a very big mistake. I think Max Mitchell should have played right guard. I think this Schweitzer guy is absolute trash. And I think that Max Mitchell is a better option. So Max Mitchell should have been the right guard. That would have been the better alignment. At least that's how I feel. But we don't have a smart coach. Our coach doesn't make smart personnel decisions. All right. We've known that. We just don't. Our head coach is a month behind all of us. It takes him a month longer to realize things. You know, and someone saying, you got my attention, Snowball. I knew someone was going to pull, and I know you're just messing with me. I knew that what somebody was going to pull out of this was he's being a Zach Truther. I'm not. What I'm saying is our other quarterbacks on the roster are that incredibly bad. And that's unheard of. Because I watched Cincinnati's quarterback play better and lead them to a win. Even for the little bit that Bethard came in for Jacksonville, he was better than any backup we had. I mean, everybody else seems to know how to figure it out and put in a quarterback that's rosterable, except us. I'm not saying it's easy with our offensive line, but everybody else figures it out. So, but right now what we're focused on is the disbelief that if Zach Wilson really wants to play, and if Robert Saleh really wants to win, and he plays any quarterback other than Zach Wilson on that roster, he is absolutely the dumbest coach in the world. And that's a concern. It's a concern. We have to be concerned about that. If our head coach is that stupid that he's going to say to the media, to the world, I want the quarterback who gives us the best chance to win, and then says I'm not sold on Zach Wilson yet, we have to worry. We have to worry because no one could be that stupid. I could have told you the first 2 drives that Tim Boyle played when he came into the game that we should have went back to Zach Wilson the next week. The first 2 drives, I said, oh, this is the guy who doesn't know how to play football. Like, he's not a rosterable player. He was absolutely horrid. It was like sticking me out there. He was like scared, didn't know what to do. It was horrible. It was horrible. And then the next game on Sunday before he got benched, he was throwing it to the checkoff guy, like literally when the ball was snapped to him. Like, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was completely unserviceable. And Zach, as bad as he's been, as much of a bust as he's been, as disappointing as he's been, as angry as you might be at him, Zach Wilson is better than that, though. We've won football games with Zach Wilson starting. I mean, he's made plays those guys simply can't make. How about we just let him use his legs? First option, second option, instead of checking down, look for an opening. If you see clear space, run. Run, goddammit. Get out of the pocket. And when you're getting out of the pocket, look, because whenever there's someone vertical with him, he can throw the ball really well. He just can't throw it to anybody that's not completely lined up with him, because all he knows how to do is throw the ball at someone. And I've had that proven, and I'm going to prove it on video. There'll be a video that shows that. That shows that only 6 or 7 times in his life has Zach Wilson ever thrown a pass that's not completely vertical to the player he's throwing it to. Only 6 or 7 times since college has he thrown a pass that's a timing route that actually leads his receiver. Every other time when he tries to throw, when it's not a vertical pass, he's way off target. He is incapable of doing it, except the 6 or 7 times. It was his birthday, and it happened. But all that being said, he's better than Trevor Siemian, because Trevor Siemian can't throw a 15-yard pass without throwing it 20 yards out of bounds. Open receivers all over the field, plenty of time, and he couldn't do a thing. So no one's going to tell me that he's not our best option. I mean, and believe me, it's not a compliment. Like, it's not a compliment. Like, Zach Wilson, if I went up to him and said, hey, man, you're our best chance to win, man. You're better than any other healthy quarterback on our roster. Maybe that might make him feel good, but it shouldn't. Because Zach Wilson is not even in the top 40 quarterbacks in the NFL. Maybe not the top 50. I'd have to look at it. Okay? But Trevor Siemian is not in the top 100. Okay? I'd rather have Strevler, because at least Strevler could run for his life. I'd rather have Strevler. I don't have any confidence that we can get a touchdown. Like, there's no chance in my mind that we can score a touchdown if Trevor Siemian was our quarterback. At least with Zach Wilson, he might roll right, do this, and throw the ball deep to Garrett Wilson because he's vertical with him and get the touchdown. Like, it's possible. I mean, we have an offensive coordinator that's too stupid to take that shot, but at least it's possible. With Siemian, it's not even possible. And I agree with you, Stanley. I mean, Zach has no timing, no touch. He throws the ball one speed. All those things are true. Still gives us the best chance to win against Houston, unarguably. It's not even a debate. It's not even close. That's on JD, right? That's JD's fault. The fact that I could sit there and honestly say that he gives us the best chance to win, as bad as he is all the evidence you need to know that Joe Douglas's biggest failure as the GM was going into this season with Zach Wilson as the backup quarterback, and then he doubled down on it by first of all, he didn't do it right away. He took too much time, and he brought in Trevor Siemian. So he doubled down on the mistake. I don't care if he's bad in the locker room. You should have brought Wentz in. You're trying to save a season. Dobbs, maybe they could have traded for him then if they knew he was available. I don't know what they knew, but they should have been calling everybody. Bring in any real serviceable quarterback. Try to save your season. I mean, look, it's not that I'm mad if they don't use Zach Wilson. He's gone. He's not going to be in the future of the New York Jets. He's gone. I'm surprised if he's on the roster next year. He might be as the third string because we're paying him anyway, and Aaron Rodgers seems to like him. But I'm telling you, he's not part of our future. He's gone anyway. I don't care about Zach Wilson. I mean, part of me wants to lose. I'm not going to lie. Part of me, I mean, I'm definitely going to be like, if they lose, I'm definitely like yes, 2 days ago when they lost, all I thought to myself was, oh, we're going to move up in the draft order. Because as we learned when we beat the Rams, what did that do for us? What did that accomplish? It's why we're in this situation. Set us back 5 years. Believe me, when we beat the Rams, when Braden Mann made that tackle, and stopped them from getting that touchdown at the end of the game, that killed us. That was more damaging than we ever could have imagined. I mean, I imagined it because I looked at my wife and I said, we just lost Trevor Lawrence. We just lost the one guy since maybe Andrew Luck that we knew was a can't miss. This was going to be a good NFL quarterback. I didn't know about superstar, but definitely going to be a good NFL quarterback. You put the right team around him, you're going to win. At worst. And we threw that away for what? For what? So at this point, I'm thinking to myself, can you imagine we win a couple of meaningless games and we're out of that top 6 or 7? We watch other teams get to take Marvin Harrison. We watch other teams get to take 2 perennial freaking Hall of Fame tackles. The 2 other teams get their quarterback. One team that gets in there trades back and gets a crazy haul of picks. And there we are just stuck taking like a J.C. Latham. And maybe he ends up being good. It's ridiculous. It's the same old crap. Same old crap. So maybe Salah's doing the right thing. Maybe he's just playing stupid. And maybe he'll use Trevor Siemian and then he'll put in Brett Rippon and he'll just tank this nightmare of a season and let us have a super high pick that's valuable. And if there's one thing left that I believe in Joe Douglas with, is he knows how to utilize draft capital. He's made some really good picks. He got really good guys. The last time he messed up with the draft capital and things like that was when he didn't trade down and keep Sam Darnold. And I'm not going to pretend that that's what I want him to do or I knew he should do that. But as it turns out, it certainly would have been better for him if that's what had happened. So, this is this is our situation now. This is our reality. We didn't get Trevor Lawrence. That killed us. So we ended up taking Zach Wilson later on. He's a bust. He's a bust. So we go out and we get Aaron Rodgers, and for the first time in his career, he plays 4 snaps and he's out for a season. And here we are relying on a 40-year-old to come back, and we put all our chips in the pot, and we broke this streak we had going, or this momentum of building up this really great roster. And instead, we've hurt ourselves with money and financially because we're locked into Rodgers now, paying him $30 million for the next few years. So we've really hurt our opportunities to re-sign players later on in a couple of years when a lot of our young talent's going to become free agents or want extensions. We gave up so much, and next year might be our only shot. So maybe we need to just tank and put as much talent as possible into this season with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you get a guy like Fashanu to block for him. Get a real tackle. Bring back Becton also. And then pick another interior guard somewhere in the draft as well. Like really stock up the offensive line because that's been our problem. Or if he's there, you take Marvin Harrison. And then you do the offensive line through the draft. I mean, it's not ideal. I mean, we could still bulk up the interior of the line. In round 3, we could take like the best center or guard and still bulk up talent in the middle. And then we could, keep AVT on the outside. Hopefully retain Becton, pick somebody up in free agency. I mean, it's not ideal, but for Marvin Harrison, you do it because Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison is going to be a hell of a combination when you have Aaron Rodgers in the backfield, throwing the ball. So all of this would be understandable. Like if he didn't say anything and he just said, I have my reasons, and he goes, we'll keep it private. And then he starts Trevor Siemian. I wouldn't question him or yell or complain because deep in my mind, I'm saying, I know what he's doing. I know what he's doing. He's tanking. Because he's in a situation where he's probably definitely coming back next year. So unlike Adam Gase, who had no reason to tank, Adam Gase didn't care. He knew he was fired. That's why he beat the Rams. He didn't beat the Rams. I mean, if anything, he thought maybe I'll save my job if I win a few games. But that's not. I mean, the last thing Adam Gase thought is, oh, I should lose these games so we can get Trevor Lawrence, because he knew he would never reap the benefits of that. So he kept coaching his butt off. And you would have thought that guarantees us a loss, but unfortunately, on that day, John Franklin-Myers decided to step up, and Bryce Huff stepped up. And was it Bryce Huff that day? No, he wasn't there. It was John Franklin-Myers, I think. All of a sudden, I think it was John Franklin-Myers because he came from the Rams, so he wanted to prove himself. All of a sudden, our defensive line played like they were freaking all-pro. And that's what happened. So, do you agree with me? If or do you think? Well, first of all, do you think Robert Saleh was lying? Do you think that Robert Saleh knows that Zach Wilson gives us the best chance to win, but he's lying? Or do you think he really doesn't know? Or are you someone who thinks that Zach doesn't give us the best chance to win? I mean, it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me that if we win a football game, the Jet fan in my heart, the Jet fan's going to be happy. But part of me is going to be so disappointed because I'm going to think, how many spots do we slip down in the draft? Because I feel like next year is really our only shot. I don't want to think about the year after that because we don't know what's going to happen. So I'm thinking our only real shot is next year. That's our shot. I've waited over 40 years. Am I not allowed to root for us losing so we can bring in better talent, more picks, or a better player to give us a better chance of winning? I've waited over 40 years. Am I allowed to hope that? Because after Rodgers is gone, it's like a reset, man. It's going to take forever. We're not going to have a quarterback. We're still going to have to pay him $35 million a year for the next year or two. Like, it's not going to end. We have I think we have to do everything we can to win next year. I think we have to put every effort into the best strategy of how do we put ourselves in the best position to win a Super Bowl next year. And when I do that, there's no way to do it without saying we're better off losing. Because you get a top 5 pick in next year's draft with 2 quarterbacks and Marvin Harrison and those 2 tackles, you have a legitimate chance to land a huge trade. Even if you don't take one of those guys, you could land a huge trade, a trade that lets us go back on the track we were on. We're able to add crazy amounts of talent year after year until we have to win because we have too many guys not to. It's not a complete roster yet. It just isn't. The only good news is that we're kind of good on the defensive side. I think we need another run-stopping defensive tackle, but pishy-pashy, 6 is half dozen of another. I mean, the reality is the defense is pretty damn good. So it helps that we only have one side of the ball to think about. And assuming Aaron Rodgers comes back and actually can play the season for us, big assumption with us, unfortunately, but if assuming that can happen, then our weapons start to look more real. Garrett Wilson, Conklin, Jeremy Ruckert, Breece Hall. It starts to look a little bit more real. But what has to happen is we have to have an offensive line. Even with Aaron Rodgers, I can't stand it when people say, well, he doesn't need an offensive line. No. He needs an offensive line. And if not just for the pass protection, the run blocking. We need an offensive line because we need to be able to do. I mean, did you see what happens to Brees Hall every time he gets the ball? There's like a wall there. The run blocking was horrendous on Sunday. Horrendous. So we do need an offensive line. We can't sit there and pretend that we don't. We do. So that means that we need, really, there's a lot of needs if we're going to be serious about winning a championship. It's not just about being a playoff team. We got maybe a 1-year window with Aaron Rodgers. We need to do it. And we can't compete with Kansas City, with Philadelphia if we made the Super Bowl. But or any of these teams for real in the playoffs. We can't run through Cincinnati, Baltimore, Cleveland, whoever it is, Kansas City. We can't run through those teams and win 3 games in a row or 2 games in a row, which means we'd have to win it throughout the whole regular season without an offensive line and a consistent running game. We need to bulk up our line and every week have good blocking and every week be able to effectively run the ball. On top of having Aaron Rodgers and a competent quarterback who can pass the ball. So there's improvements that we need to make. And I'm like talking myself into it. The best way to make those improvements is to have a good pick. So either it's for the time being, maybe it's good that Saleh's stupid. That's right, buddy. Keep using Trevor. That's a smart coach. Because at the end of the day, it serves my needs. But it worries me for the future. If you tell me that we have a coach that's so dumb, if you tell me that we have a coach that's so bad and is so ignorant and knows so little about football that even though it benefits me for now, going into next season, I have to know this dumb human being is the person we're relying on to help be part of the Super Bowl team we're dreaming of. And he can't tell the difference between Trevor Siemian and Zach Wilson. That's a concern. Because it's very, very obvious. It doesn't take a genius to figure this out. Anyway, I got to go. I just wanted to come in and do this rant. Everybody who's here, I thank you. I see you. I appreciate you. Jay Spector, Stanley Mann, Austin Powers himself, JW. Braden, all the way from New Zealand. It's good to see you, friend. Wild Wave, my good friend. Kent, it's good to see you here, man. I don't know you very well, but I'm glad that you're here. My friend Nick is here. Jay Spector, thanks for being here. Harlan was here. I think he went to bed, though. It's kind of late. I don't blame him. Maybe he's up. I don't know. John Hepburn, what's going on, my friend? New York Jets fan 4, Snowball. Everybody that was here, I appreciate you. I appreciate that you were here. For those of you who are not in the chat and watching, thanks for being here. For those of you who watch the replay, Jets Mess, my original OG, thanks for being here. Benji Zeus, all of you guys, man, thank you for your support. And I will be back tomorrow on Pride and Chaos. And I will leave you with, what am I going to leave you with? What tasty treat am I going to leave you with? Let me leave you with some, I don't know, fun little stuff like this.